My illness never really took place until I was 24.
I was misdiagnosed. It took a couple of years to figure out what was actually wrong with me, and apparently had bipolar affective disorder.
I was already working as a social worker when I had my first sort of experience of a mental health issue. It impacted on my life in a way that I felt that I couldn't be a social worker anymore.
I became a carer about 3 years ago when suddenly in a week my partner had a manic episode and she had to enter the service.
I've been a carer since 1995 when my son James developed schizophrenia.
I'm working as a team leader for recovery and rehabilitation at Northside Mental Health Services.
Before I was diagnosed, I was quite directionless, and I'm pretty sure I was hypomanic, like for a long time.
If it was a physical illness, I suppose people come in with flowers and that. But because it was a mental illness, no one seemed to bother.
The experience of mental illness can be very disempowering for people on a range of levels. They often lose their families, relationships, they often lose work, they lose a lot of self-esteem and confidence.
The identity of having a mental illness had taken over completely from who I was as a person.
You lose a lot of your friends after a while. You stop having visitors.
My bad days come out in anger, can be very aggressive.
Having bipolar has majorly affected my relationships.
Because make no mistake, when I was in here, I now know, looking back, why I was on these codes. Because if I had a chance to kill myself, I would have done. Made no mistake about that. I shouldn't be alive today. I should be sitting here talking to you today.
I knew of her as a strong person. I mean, it did take some time for me to say, I couldn't believe that someone so strong has actually had a breakdown.
If they're put into hospital, there are a whole lot of professional people running around and saying you've got to do this and you take this medication and this is what you've got to do and here's rehab and here's all their control is taken away. Their identity is taken away sometimes. They become an illness. They don't have any say over what is happening to them.
I do not know of any resources which the service provided to carers. No one in the service talked to me as a carer. I was just a visitor, and I did not get any input from the service. I mean, as you would expect to give a carer, because I was there with her for 24 hours a day when she came out of the hospital. She was in the hospital just for a month, but I was with her for the rest of the 3 years.
Because we have no control and we don't know what to expect, what's going on, and it's the most terrifying, scary emotion. And all we need is knowledge. We need an understanding of the illness, and we need an understanding about ourselves, because often we have unresolved issues. I certainly had. I'm sure I'm not alone in that.
Yes, I do believe that carers need to be consulted more as a vital part of that relationship.
I think what of value I could have got out of the whole experience is more information on what was happening, why it was happening, what was regulation. I think that there was very little information for me, and I don't believe my parents had a clue what was going on.
I'm pretty passionate about being treated with equality and respect. I get very, very cranky when people try and separate people with a mental illness and people who don't have a mental illness at work, like being in the health industry and stuff. I hear it a lot.
You are an illness, And that's not true. That person is a human being with feelings and thoughts and beliefs and values and expectations and hopes and dreams that have been damaged because they have become ill. But just because they've been damaged doesn't mean they're no longer a person, and it doesn't mean that they can't be repaired and treated and restored to health and life and vitality.
I guess at the end of the day, a person living with mental illness is none other like Joe Blow, who I just happen to take 2 little funny pills to help me to recover or maintain my illness. Whereas someone like yourself might take a tablet for diabetes or a tablet for a flu.
I might be the crazy one, who can't see 4 people sitting on a tray. What's right, what's wrong? Just because the majority thinks it's right doesn't mean it has to be, does it?
I think that we work with people with mental health problems in a respectful way when we acknowledge their strengths and capacities, and when we work with them to look at their own skills and the capacity they have to solve their own problems.
I didn't want the power of a psychiatric person controlling where I was at. I didn't like the side effects of the medication. So basically, it's just a matter of finding out how you can handle it. The side effects, I still have them. I tell them to go away, go.
But make no mistake, each day I wake up and I face my day. I'm in a constant battle, no matter what I do with my illness.
So in relation to medication, I want to be totally involved. I'm forever asking about groups that I can go to meet other people. I'm on so many internet sites where I meet other people, and when I'm totally insomniac stage because of my mania, I'll be on the internet talking to other people who are at the same stage as me. So I really, really want to be a part of my own recovery, and I want to put my own input in.
When I actually made a connection with how I can influence the distress myself, then nothing was standing in my way of doing anything I wanted to do with my life at all.
Recovery so needs the participation of carers as well as the really important service providers, and of course the person who is central to this, which is the consumer. And the consumer needs to be an equal part of the team because it's their illness. They need to take responsibility for their illness ultimately.
Recovery is about the individual. It's about the journey that they're making. It has to be based on what they want.
I think recovery is about empowering individuals to be as independent as they can, to make their own decisions and to live a meaningful life.
Looking back to how I was to where I am today, recovery to me means I have made one hell of an achievement. But I haven't done it by myself. I've done it with the help of the nurses, and I've also done it with the help of a darn good caseworker and a darn good doctor, which I saw regularly.
Just because you think you know what might be best for that person may not agree. So, an active role in your recovery, yes. An equal role in your recovery journey, yes.
Empowerment, the consumer feels in control, and it means then that the mental health team, the case manager or the key worker is working collaboratively with the consumer, knowing what their needs and wants are, and then assisting them to achieve those goals. So it just helps you to stay more goal focused if the consumer's empowered.
The move towards empowering clients, and particularly Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander clients, into taking responsibility for their health, I think is a move in a positive direction.
mental health services can have a tendency to take that expert role and, and make meaning of people's mental distress for them. Like, you have this psychiatric label, this is how we make sense of what's happened to you.
I think service providers need to learn to talk to consumers. The most important thing that we can do is to have a discussion, a meaningful conversation with an individual about their own recovery journey and where that's at and what sort of support they would like. And that's the most meaningful thing that we can do with people. So I'd really encourage people to take time out of their busy schedules and remember that it's the quality of that relationship that's going to make the difference in the long run.
All I asked of anybody, doctor, nurse, psychologist, whoever it is, please speak to Kate. Don't speak to my illness. Speak to me. Speak to me on the same level. I am a person.
Clinical staff relationship with clients that has a long-term and sustainable impact, and not only just what medications or what therapies are used with clients, but certainly building and establishing rapport and trust through the client-clinician relationship has a huge impact on positive outcomes for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander clients.
Right now, this person is seeing things, she's delusional, she thinks she's God, whatever. That is not actually who she is. And I think clear communication between the person, the patient, and their family is very important, because let's face it, how many families actually know what schizophrenia is? And I think that just to be compassionate, they're all just human.
When we work with someone who has mental illness, we try not to focus on their illness. We actually try to focus on their character, their strengths, their life experience, their interests, their capabilities, their experiences in life. And that from those things, we draw the material which they can use to build a new sense of identity.
It is important to note that they are there because of something in the past which is brought them there. So their future may not go the same way.
It's very easy for us to see people in terms of their deficits, and I can really understand and see how that happens. But I think we lose sight of all the times that people have been able to influence their distress without our help or without our support.
My journey's just always been about, regardless of what gets hurled at you, you can't let it stop you, you just have to keep going forward.
What's great about the recovery process is it's full of challenges and it's about meeting life's expectations. And just because you fail at one challenge doesn't mean you can't get up and do it again.
From a health professional point of view, are actually about changing our view of how we view people with mental illness and how we hold the hope and expectations around recovery. I think the challenge is about us challenging our own concepts and beliefs, our own role as the expert.
If they have an understanding, they'll see how livable it is and how many smart people in the world there have been who have had my illness and our illness, and how we can really get through this and live a really fulfilled life, sometimes more than others because we appreciate it so much.
And wow, look, I can't believe I'm doing it today, but I'm doing it.
I don't let mental illness hold me back.
When we work in partnership, once I learned to respect James's right to make some of his own decisions, many of which I didn't agree with, we actually started having fun together and enjoyed each other's company. And he then started talking to me much, much more honestly.
Moving away from a caretaking approach to working with people and moving toward an approach where they work in support and partnership with people, rather than directing that relationship, actually being a partner in that relationship. And encouraging and supporting the belief that people can take care of themselves with some facilitation and support.
Service providers, we need to have more conversations with people about how they've made sense of what's happened to them, and how they've created and built upon their own expertise on how to influence that distress should they experience a setback or something again.
Recovery is taking the time to actually recognize what you've done in the past and making changes if you need to.
People may rebuild their lives on a different sense of identity. They may feel more compassionate, they may feel stronger, they may feel different as a result of their experience, and they might want to build new activities and roles and values based on that new identity.
I think as mental health professionals, if we lose hope for people, then we're going to place the people that we're working with at an extreme disadvantage, and we're going to have virtually zero job satisfaction as well, because it's important for professionals to feel like they're making a difference as well.
Once they find a safe environment outside, they then can look within themselves and heal themselves and get themselves better again. That was my personal mission, that to provide a safe environment and not to judge what my partner is doing.
I'll be recovering for the rest of my life because I don't think I'm ever going to be completely well.
And then I see myself today to how I was. I think that's a good recovery.
Yeah, independence is great, I can tell you that now.
And I believe we can work with people to help them find places in the community where they feel safe and feel valued.
But as the years went by, I realised that recovery is much more than just the absence of symptoms. It's actually about having something to do, about having somebody to love, having something to hope for. It's about being part of the community. It's much, much more than just the illness, just the symptoms.
But honestly, no matter what your illness is, no matter how bad you are, there is hope, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And one day you'll look back and you'll think, my God, how did I do it? But you did it.